When you're playing an RPG, the hardest part comes to choosing which kind of RPG you're going to play in terms of gameplay, and when you give up, you decide to just take a nap instead. But what types of RPG combat systems are there, and which remain supreme? Well, there's the classic turn-based system, and if you're looking for realism, this system is not where you'd get it. How nice of enemies to just stand there politely waiting for you to unleash an attack that will no doubt decimate them. Of course, the time you take to choose a command for your characters is usually not the actual pace of the battle, but it still does feel that way. This system offers slower pace for more time to consider which actions are best, figure out what roles your character should play, and to analyze your enemy. Breathing room is a guaranteed feature in games like the classic Final Fantasies and Breath of Fire. If you want more strategy where you control a literal army in that each strong character is but like 10 people and move each unit like chess pieces, games like Fire Emblem are right up your alley. Each character can move and complete certain actions that take up their turn, attacking, healing, or using an item or stave. You get a huge map, whether it's good design is dependent, and your turn ends when all your characters complete an action, and the enemy's turn ends when all of their characters move. You have all the time in the world to consider each of your moves carefully, because enemies are most likely to capitalize on your mistakes, and like an actual army, most of your units are unfortunately expendable. Why can't my characters just dodge the enemy's attacks, you ask yourself when playing a classic turn-based game. Paper Mario sought to answer that by bringing a more dynamic, reactive turn-based system in its combat. With precise inputs, you'll be able to either counter, defend, or even shut down whatever enemies throw at you. On the other hand, the active time battle system, as seen in Final Fantasy IV-10, gives that advantage to the enemies as well. If you take too long to make a decision, enemies will gladly notice and attack you while you're busy thinking. And it's not as though you can counter their opportunity attacks. No, you're stuck waiting for that damn bar. Card-based games need its flowers too, and most deserving of all, Baten Kaitos. With its focus on deck building, the armors, skills, and weapons characters use are all transformed into cards you tailor as decks for each character. There's no deck building on the fly, so make sure you're ready to ride or die with the deck you prepared beforehand. A creative switch up on an old-fashioned combat system. But who said combat in RPGs have to be turn-based? Kingdom Hearts has a set leader in its free-form combat, with players controlling Sora. They have a free range of movement and can complete several actions such as attacking, casting spells, using items, and even summoning beloved Disney characters. Sora's teammates, Donald and Goofy, as well as temporary allies, can do the same first 3 actions as Sora, but must be said with specific behaviors that best utilize their abilities. Choosing a specific time for when they use an item, choosing whether they should spam or forego a certain move, as well as how much they cash in their resources are just a few options. While the AI can be wonky in this system, is it really only their fault that they didn't heal you in time? Building upon this system, the Tales of series allows players to choose whichever character is the leader, whether because they like their abilities or just think they're neat. But the Tales of series, at the cost of having a less expansive and more contained battlefield, offers harder to master and flashier combat where if you play your cards right, you can decimate your enemies in a stylish and efficient way. But of course, you can't forget about turn-based combat without bringing up the most tried and true and deceptively simple system of them all: dueling. And there's obviously no better game that illustrates that more than Pokemon. You choose a Pokemon to fight against your opponent's Pokemon, you take turns using certain moves, yada yada yada. The simplicity of the combat system is what allowed the competitive scene to flourish since it's accessible. But when you realize how complex the system actually is, such as how damaging certain moves are and the utility of seemingly trivial moves, certain actions like swapping Pokemon become absolute table turners.